Howdy, y'all, it's your favorite trainer with a belt buckle. Today we have a guest speaker on our online internship. You can become a trainer anywhere in the world. We got Joe, the #1 trainer at Equinox Westlake. He talks about what it's like to be successful, what a day looks like from 5 a.m. to sometimes 10 p.m., being present. What do you do when you're sick? What do you do when a client is sick? How to manage the floor in your floor hours. So listen to this call. Let us know what you think. If you want to become a successful personal trainer, read the book. Have a great day, y'all.
I appreciate your patience, Chris. I just got out of a session, so I was trying to hide away to a place where I could have some, I could hear.
I was just going through, that was my guess. And so, you go from, you probably had your first session today around 5:30.
Today, that was 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So today I had I would, let's see here. Yeah, 7 o'clock, but I did have 6:30 beforehand.
All right, so this is our class. We got 9 eager minds that want to be in the position that you're at, which is training regularly. And congrats to the conversation we had yesterday. You're scheduled to do plus or minus a few sessions, about 150 for the month. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, next month to be about 150, and when you have a number set on how many you're probably going to do for the month, the likelihood of that actually hitting is not fairly low, but like if you want 140. Then you probably need to have like 150 on the schedule. So but roughly, yes, but I appreciate it.
10-20% fall off. You're going to get those. I was leaving the gym yesterday. I was pouring sweat. I had to go my steam room, and Joe flags me down. He's like, I finally have an 8 o'clock opening because he's usually scheduled. But as you know, you're going to have clients that will cancel last minute or whatever it is. And so I just, love to pick your brain on the life of a trainer. You can tell everyone about. You came from Kentucky, I believe, right?
Yes.
And you have background in kinesiology from.
Yeah, Morehead State University, exercise science degree. Yeah.
Yeah. So the floor is yours. Just love to kind of hear your story, and then they'll ask some questions on, what it's like to be a trainer. Then I'll ask some questions as well.
I appreciate it. Full disclosure, I'd really appreciate, this opportunity. It's really funny just to even be here because, when I graduated college, I was working for a couple of years in chiropractic, and not me as a chiropractor, but doing chiropractic tech and personal training. And when I got an offer to move out here for my brother who lives in Oxnard, it was a video that I watched from Chris in an interview with another Equinox trainer that got me to figure out what Equinox was and to see what it was all about. And being here is kind of very surreal and how everything panned out. But I'm fallible like anyone else. It's funny today, like I was thinking so hard to what nobody would say, this stuff. So I'm a bit nervous here, but anyway, it's to give a bit of a gist about me, because I was trying to think of what I could really offer the people on this call. And, I don't want to come off preachy. I just want to come off as with my own experience, right? So this is my views, my experience, things that have worked for me and where I'm at. So, originally I'm from Kentucky, graduated, at the same degree, exercise science, Morehead State University. And I ended up graduating, having no idea what I was going to do. My plans all kind of fell through with what I planned on doing. And then I ended up falling into chiropractic work and did therapeutic exercise for a couple of years, and then got into personal training after a job that I was doing character development for a prison for sex offenders and violent offenders fell through due to legislation changes. And ended up falling in love with it, right? Therapeutic exercise was great, but it's a lot nicer when people actually appreciate your time. So that's where personal training came into fruition. I had no idea what Equinox was. Again, small town Kentucky, there's no Equinox. The closest one's going to be miles and miles away, and unless you have the ability to afford it, no one's going to know what that is. So worked for a few years, got an opportunity to come out here, and I saw a video of Chris, and like I said before, but if I could kind of get into my whole story, I could get into all that stuff, and but the reality is, I just think that I'm just going to offer you guys what I found successful here and take it and leave it. And so He hasn't probably told you, but I'm in a wheelchair, so I'm paralyzed from about the waist down. And as much as that presents its challenges within itself, I think a lot of things that I deal with and a lot of the things that have led me to be successful here, despite my disability, really just, it's going to be successful to anybody. I think so. I mean, and a few things, if I could just list them off, would be presence, right? Being here. I know a lot of people have other things going on. I know a lot of people have, they're actors, they're models, they're whatever. And, being in LA, it's a big thing out here. And, and I don't know anyone's financial situation, but, you may have another job because it's hard when you're grinding out, you're just starting out, you're not making, $100,000 a year. Like you're grinding out, just trying to get maybe $800 a paycheck, right? So when you first start out with Equinox, especially not every club starts out at tier 3, like Westlake, because we're a coaching club. And that being said, presence, right? I mean, you got to want it. You got to be here. I'll be here sometimes 14 hours a day, even now. So, because you'll have few sessions in the morning, you'll have a big space in the middle, some time in the afternoon, you got to be here. Have a smile on your face and say hi to everybody. Like, I think, the hardest thing for people, or that I noticed for me coming from the South and me coming out here, is that people aren't used to that, right? Whenever people go into a club at Equinox, people automatically assume you're trying to sell them. They assume you're trying to whatever. And, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Like, yeah, I'm trying to sell you because I want to help you, right? Like, that's the whole point I'm here. Like, I want to see you improve, right? As much as it's going to help me make a living, but it's what else you don't come into personal training doing it for the money. I mean, you do it because you love it, because you have a passion. And money comes, but at the same time, it's not, if you want to make the big bucks, well, go sell cars. So, go sell something else, right? So, but being here in presence, I also, another thing too is goals, right? And I know for me, like I would every month, every day, every time, every week, I have a goal I want to achieve. And it's not even something as meticulous as hour to hour, but it's like an overall goal, right? So like, for instance, when I first started for Equinox, I had a number of sessions that I wanted to hit per month. And then I've been obsessively telling myself that every morning for the last 3 years. I started with Equinox at beginning of the pandemic. I hit my first ramper bonus and everything closed down, right? But in either way, through all of that, I still had that mindset of that's what I want to hit. That's what I want to hit. That's what I want to hit. And then now I'm doing, this month I'll finish out roughly around 140, 150. In October, I already have 153 on the board. So, and like, but it's that mindset, that hunger of wanting it. On top of that, growth. And this is, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this guy. His name's Alex Formosi. I really like his stuff in the terms of just fitness information when it comes to sales and closings and stuff like that. But he had a very good perspective on growth, right? There you go. There you go.
This is the book I'm going to bring you here next.
Yeah, appreciate it. I look forward to reading it. I've been following this guy for a bit, and guys like him, guys like Grant Cardone, love him or hate him, they have some good information when it comes to sales. But the thing for Alex Formosi that I got even just yesterday, which was growth mindset. And it's like, what are the goals, or what are the tenets of who you are, right, that allow you to grow, right? And there's no specific ones. It's just the ones that you need to grow, right? And so another thing is like mindset, I am statements, right? So for instance, how can you know what client you're trying to look for that you're going to attract if you don't have a solidified view of who you are? And so what I mean by that is, for me, I have statements that I tell myself, that I define myself by, that are powerful, right? So for me, I'm honest, I'm loyal, I'm bold, I'm generous, I'm open, I'm clear, right? And then sometimes I add to those, and sometimes I take those away, depending on what I need and when they're serving me, right? Another thing would be follow-up. It's sales 101. But one of my guys right now, 3 times a week, I've been following up on this guy for 1.5 years, right? So, and And that's the thing, like a year and a half of calling, texting, email, calling, texting, email, calling, texting, email. And sometimes not every week, but like maybe every 3 weeks, once a month, twice a month, and then re-looking at that and being diligent about it. Also, giving a shit. We were talking, me and Chris were talking the other day, and he said some people were like actors or whatever, and you're focusing on this, your dreams are there, and hey, I get it. But you put 50% focus, you're gonna get 50% output, right? And so that's the thing. This is what I do. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach, right? I want to see people succeed. Is this what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life? Maybe, maybe not. But in essence, I want to teach people. Like I want to help. I want to, I get fulfillment out of knowing I helped others reach their potential. And whether that's me reaching other goals within that or doing that later, something else later in life, that's my focus, and that's my guide. And so because of that, people see that, right? It's so easy to, it's easy to sell in the sense of like, oh, well, I have this, I'm doing this, I have this for you and all whatever. But if you come in and have a genuine intention and of, hey, I really want to help you and I really want to invest my time in you, whoever that may be, whoever you're sitting across from, even if they don't buy from you then, you made them feel something, right? And even if you don't buy from them then, when you see them on the floor, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. How's your progress going? Like, whatever. Like, and you see them once down the line, even if they don't train with you, they might speak to you about you to someone else, right? I've gotten referrals just from people who did not sign from me and who just heard about me throughout the gym, watching me train someone else. Another thing, by the way, everybody, I kind of jump back and forth between things, so be patient. Please forgive me. I appreciate your patience. So with I am statements, if you are saying something like, I'm an all or nothing, I'm all this or whatever, like, and ask yourself, is that serving me? Because I want to make sure to cover that. And if it's not serving you, then stop saying it. You know what I mean? Like if it's something negative or a negative trait about yourself, stop saying it and change it. You know what I mean? Because if it's not serving you, why are you defining yourself by that trait? So I just want to get that out of the way. Another thing as well is, really speaking about your program to your clients. Like they don't give a, like most clients, now very fortunate, I have some people that ask me very hard questions. So it actually forces me to, and you'll get those clients. And those are actually some of my favorite just because they ask you stuff and you're like, huh, I never really thought about that or how to explain that. And because a lot of times in fitness, we know something works just because it's anecdotal and it's been working for 30 years and whatever, but they'll ask you, they'll be like, well, Joe, how does hypertrophy work? And you're like, huh. And then you end up saying some bullshit answer and you're like, oh, maybe I need to look up what that is, right? But be used to saying, I don't know. You're a personal trainer, you're not a doctor, right? You're a coach or whatever, you're not a physician, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's okay to say, I don't know, but do your best to look up an answer for next time. And that'll help you in the future because you end up explaining it better to them. You simplify it. It adds more value to your program, more value to what you want, and you go from there. Also, never lose the hunger to gain clients. I'm doing how many sessions that I'm doing. I'm very appreciative and grateful. But at the same time, it's going to ebb and flow. You know what I mean? I was doing, like 3 months ago, like averaging 100 to 95. Now doing what I'm doing now. Now, granted, there's some progression there that I hope to keep, but at the same time, Jewish holidays are coming up. Christmas is coming up. Halloween's coming up. People go on travel, right? I already had a client tell me last week they're going to be out for probably 2.5 weeks, all in October, right? And so because of that, even when you're exhausted, you're tired, you need to make sure that you can have a mindset of, hey, I need to gain 3 clients this month because Jane, Joe, and Jack are going to be out, right? And so you need to fill those spots. And I can't tell you how useful it is to maybe just come up to somebody that you're talking to. They may not be sticking you forever, but then you give them 6 sessions, 7 sessions, 3 sessions, 12 sessions, whatever. And, even if they're once a week, every once in a while, to fill in those gaps, to help that one, not only to help you financially, but two, that's one more person that you trained. That's one more person that you impacted. That's one more person that you can actually that will speak good about you too in the gym, right? Those are other things. But if I was going to really keep it honed in, that's what I would say has probably been part of my success the most. Also, really hone in. On asking your training management, how can I improve? What do you see? What am I doing worse, right? What am I doing better, right? And like, how can you improve? And for me, I'm an extrovert, right? And so I'm an extrovert. I really struggle with validate. I have a tendency, see, I almost did it myself when I am statement. So I have a tendency, right, to really get down on myself when I have criticism, right? But at the end of the day, I try to be aware so that way I can take that criticism and try to turn it into the positive and try to turn it into something I can do better and be better at. And it's very helpful. You know what I mean? Even when it's something you don't want to hear, the more honest you can be with yourself, that also means the more that you're growing and then your clients see that as well, right? Because if you're growing, then they can grow because the better you are, the better they will get, right? And so I think if I can end on anything without feeling like an imposter syndrome, I think that's what I'll end on. And, let questions be when you get whatever you guys want to ask.
I love that because we were just talking about there's a girl at the gym who is fairly new, and you see a lot of, would you agree, Joe? You see a lot of trainers come in and they leave. The success rate of 12 plus months at Equinox isn't that high, right?
Mhm.
And so she wasn't present. She had these false expectations that she was going to be there from 9 to 5. She wasn't very friendly, never smiled very much. And I remember one of the first times I saw Joe, he was working out strong as shit, so he caught my attention. But then I saw him outside of the gym, and it was in Oxnard, and he was, you're on a break or something, you're at Starbucks, and he just smiled. And he was super friendly. I don't know what it is, but Californians, we suck and we don't like to smile, but it's always the Midwest, the Southern folk who I've met through Equinox. And he wasn't trying to sell me. It's just a conversation. Hey, how's it going? You just have to start talking about life. Next thing you know, that's how it's going to work for you. Because if someone were to ask me when I'm in the steam room or in the locker room, and where I overhear a conversation about a trainer, he's going to be the first person who I suggest because just the friendliness, and also because he knows what he's doing. He's not your, having his clients do weird BOSU ball bullshit. It's all, practical, and it's, they get results. And so it's a great list that you have there, Joe. And it's just great to see him train, because every time I see him train too, his clients they're listening and they're focused and they're getting in good shape. So what are some questions you guys have for Joe? Anything that's sticking out at you?
I got
like
a
the
question.
mindset, the way he
Go
sets
ahead.
goals about like what you talked about. He wants to get how many sessions. That's the way it should go. Like a mind, how many sessions you want to do. What you were saying.
So I'm sorry, say that again. I guess it was kind of like the audio was a little off there.
No, I was just saying about the sessions. Like you had a mindset, how many sessions you wanted to do.
Mhm.
I like the fact that you kept that like always a goal. That's what I like. That
But
makes
yeah.
me think about what I want to do too.
Mhm. Yeah, hopefully it helps out. Because that's the thing. There's no woo-woo. I know you get into manifestation. It's like, especially California, right? Gotta manifest, right? So, but there's something to it. Even if it's not in this case of, some sort of spiritual whatever, but it's like when you are saying something, it's like when you buy a new car, right? You buy a new car, you're thinking about that new car, right? You're going to see it everywhere, right? It's not that those cars weren't there before, but what is you open up your perspective to seeing those opportunities. That's what I know I've seen success in the last three years. It's that, whenever I have that home goal in, even if I'm not actively in the sense of like today, I'm getting 5 clients today. No, but you are keeping aware, you are attracting those opportunities, you are opening your mind to them.
Yeah, and I agree with like the smile and all that. That attracts them, and they show their kindness and like your friendliness and all that too. That's important too in the fitness side too.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I don't know if you keep track or if you just kind of roughly know, like percentage wise, how many clients you get like through leads with management versus like on your own on the floor or like just like networking like that. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you right now, I can't tell meticulously versus management versus what I get on the floor. I'll tell you right now, I don't rely on the management at all. I built my business about 85 to 90% from the floor. I can tell you that right now, just because of where, the management stuff, use it, utilize it, squeeze it dry. But at the same time, um, you know, is trade-offs to that, right? Because then they don't see your face. Those are cold calls. And again, like I've had a guy for the last year and a half who it was off a cold call, right? It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And we've had trainers at Westlake that have never picked someone off the floor who, that for the years were number one in session here, right? Like one of our trainers, Jackie, she's never picked up a person off the floor in her life, yet she's been averaging 120 for like the last ever. So, it doesn't have to be the only way. It's just there's pros and cons to it. So like, for instance, a pro from getting people off the floor is they see your face, they know who you are, right? There's that kind of sociability to it. I'll even talk to people. To be blunt, like I'll be in the steam room naked talking to people. Like, it's just like when you're just talking to people and friendly, talking about programs, talking about training, like it'll get people interested. But yeah, they're the meticulous. You can do that, but I think that's just kind of getting in the weeds. I think if anything, just kind of hone in on what works for you. And then trust the Kool-Aid of what management tells you. I'd like to always think for yourself for sure, but at the same time, Equinox knows what's successful for their trainers. And, all the stuff that they tell you that works, it all works. There's obviously differences in when you do things, differences of way you shift off, but, when they tell you follow up, when they tell you, the ways that they do for sales, the way they do for interactions, that's just real. When you drink the Kool-Aid, it works. We've had trainers that try to do their own thing. There's a reason why they don't do that well.
And there's a question someone at Equinox right now, and she was looking for like the exact blueprint for success. And I love what Joe said is, you have person A, this worked for them. Person B, this worked for them. For me, and I think that's what we need to do as trainers is you listen to the advice and you go implement a little bit over here, a little bit over there. And so every time I see him on the floor, he's talking to someone. He's not just putting away stuff. And I'll see a lot of trainers, it's like they get in their mind and they'll kind of shut off and they'll be looking down, cleaning up. Are you a maintenance person or are you a trainer? So if someone's lifting, we had a conversation yesterday. There was a girl who was doing some badass kettlebell work. He took the initiative, went up to her and said, "Hey, that's some badass stuff you're doing. Let's talk a little bit more about that." And I love doing similar things. The next thing you know, that turned into a client just by having that conversation. So I think that people think too much ultimately. We're saying, people don't want to talk to you. He's not coming up in the middle of a set. He's observing and, use your senses. And if someone has their hat down and they're just kind of reserved, yeah, you're not going to go bother them.
You literally just read my mind because that's what I've been in my head about is like, dude, in the gym, everybody's got their headphones and they're looking at the ground. They just like, don't fucking bother me energy. You know what I mean? So that's definitely what I've been thinking coming into probably going to work at a corporate gym. Is like, how do you approach these people? You got to tiptoe a little bit, but.
Yeah, there's no 100% direct way that you're always going to be able to. You're going to have to find your own. You're going to have to find your own social cues that work good for you. And that, everyone does have their headphones in. Everyone is in mid set, but at the same time, you got to be willing to be a fool. You got to be willing to be a fool. And sometimes people, I remember it was probably I will never forget this, just because how rude it was. I remember I came up to this woman and I was like, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And then she's like, "I'm not trying to buy training."
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're just like, "Oh, fuck me then."
You will get those. You will get those. And every club has its own flavor of people, but you got to be able to just move on because if she's like that way, then she probably wasn't going to be a client to anyone anyway, right? And so when you meet people, when some people are on the floor, like you have to learn to, there's that social kind of intelligence, right? But you have to flex the muscle of talking to people, right? That's all it is flexing the muscle of talking to people, right? And so when you come up and talk to somebody, hey, how was your day? How was your training session? What are you working on? What movements are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you know, man, I've seen you really work hard and being consistent. It's good to see you in here. And then using those as tools, sure, but also just be invested, be interested. Now, another flip side to that is you will get exhausted. You're human, right? You're very human. You know what I mean? There are days when I'm doing 8 sessions in a day. The moment that I can get time to myself, I'm hiding away, eating my food in the break room. Like, believe me, I do it all the time. You know, take time, take a walk around, roll around the gym. You know what I mean? Like, when you have time, like you will need time for yourself, right? But it's not you know, that's okay, right? But you always have to remind yourself, just say hi to people to say hi to, and like that's even more powerful, right? And so, but let's say so I can give you something more active, right? I saw somebody the other day, right? They were doing, you know, they were doing squats, right? It's this woman, she was doing squats because I saw her in the corner of my eye in the session, and you know, she was doing barbell squats, like partial reps, right? And it's so easy to go, wow, that's partial reps. I need to correct that. Well, you don't know why they're doing that. That was the biggest tool that I got. It's like by another trainer here. It's like, you don't know why. You know, there's a key phrase that I like to keep in mind nowadays, which is understand before being understood. And I was like, hey, I really saw you do the squats. I've seen you do a lot of compound movements. So, you know, how's that going for you? And she was like, you know, squats are really hard for me. You know, I had an ankle injury. And all of a sudden now I'm getting this information, right? Where before I could have been trying to improve on something and, you know, wagging my finger, but then now I'm offering help and assistance to understanding and compassion. And people feel that, right? And then what do? Well, hey, why don't we elevate your heels a little bit? Why don't we do this, right? And then now a 3-minute interaction, or I should say maybe a little bit of effort in a conversation. And sometimes you might have to flag someone down in the middle of the set. How you doing? You know, and be the goofy, nice person. But like you know, like people are so rude all the time, mostly in LA. So it's better to be the goofy, nice person that's, you know, kind of, you know, getting into their mind space versus not. And even if you're just saying, hey, how you doing? You know.
And I'd be willing to bet, Joe, that the person who was kind of rude to you about, I don't want to, you know, buy training, they were probably approached with the intent of making it a transaction, not to add value. And so you're going to have the trainers that are out there that are going to say, oh, you're doing this wrong. And it's a negative experience. And so could you put yourself, as Joe said, understand before you're understood, put yourself in their shoes. Maybe she's been harassed 30 times. So, you know, you go up and you smile and you say, hello. If you were to get some pushback, have fun with it. Oh, no, I was actually going to give you $50, but apparently you don't want that. You know, have some money on you or something like that. Or try to make them laugh. I was just going to give you a compliment on your shoes. Have a great rest of the workout. And you'll rarely, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are once every 1,000 interactions where most of them, they're pretty not entertaining, but engaging, and people are receptive.
Yep.
Ashley, Brandon?
Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I just had a quick question because I started at a gym here in town on Friday. I was shadowing someone, and then I hit the ground running yesterday. And so this person, I didn't know she was leaving. So she gives me all her clients. She's like, here you go. I'm like, okay, but that's fine. But I was trying to find a way to kind of segue from, okay, this is what so-and-so did with you. I want to try this today. And I didn't know the person yesterday, the couple people that were very receptive to it. But when I get a pushback, which I probably will later this week about anything, I was wondering if you've ever encountered that. And also, how have you dealt with that when people get so used to that person they were working with?
Well, first, that is the rarest scenario in training, by the way. you will.
Figured, but I'm like, what the hell? I gotta ask.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I'm the way. If I, where can I help you? Where can I be of service? So, like, at the same, just asking questions. You know, I think about it from clients who, you know, don't want to be there. I can, maybe that's the way I can relate to the best, because I had a client who, you know, she didn't want to be there. She's very ADHD, openly about it, did not like taking her medicine. And on top of that, she didn't want to lift anyway, right? And she was just doing it because her fiance wants her to do it, right? And she knows she needs to do some exercise. Well, I found myself butting heads with her all the time, right? Because she wants to do booty band and little high rep, whatever, right? I'm like, God bless them, because, you know, that helped me out. But like, either way though, asking questions like, well, how, you know, it's like, well, what would you, not necessarily what they would want to do, or, you know, how can we look at this together, right? You know, I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a team effort. Otherwise, you end up with like a power dynamic, right? And then it's like one's losing and one's gaining, but it's like, that's not what it's about. And I have to remind myself like that, because this is not as much as it's fun and playful with your clients, be like, this is a dictatorship and I'm the dick, you know, but that's not going to work for everybody. So it's like, how can, you know, what ways that, you know, they're like, well, and you might just have to do what that other person did, right? And then, because again, I mean, I don't know how long they've been training with that person, but like, it could have been years, right? It could have been 6 months, could have been a year, right? So they gain trust with that person. They know that person. They don't know you, right? You just started, you came off the block, right? So you might actually just have to kind of grin and bear it and do what they did. And then over time, introduce new things as the program progresses. I mean, that's probably the best advice I could give you.
No, that makes total sense, because since, like I said, I got lucky, I got to be with the person on Friday and be part of the session. So I got to learn some things. However, you know, I was on my own yesterday and I felt fine. I didn't feel nervous or anything, but I thought, well, what can I do to get more from them for me, not just for the person that they were with the last few months? So I just thought I would ask in case that ever came up for you, and then maybe I was going in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, you have to trust yourself and be open, right? I mean, that's the only thing you really can do. It's like, how can I be of service? How can I be client-centered? And it's so cliche, but at the same time, it's like, because at the end of the day, it's about them. It's not about us, right? And so it's
Exactly.
And also, I have to remind myself this when I get in my head around certain clients, like, because some people are intimidated, but it's not really them. It's all in your head, right? Because at the end of the day, they're only giving you what they're showing you. They're only telling you what they want to tell you, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to not know about everything in their home life. They might have a train wreck at home, and then they look like they're perfect and collected to you all the time, right? So it's something you have to kind of keep in mind, right? They're only going to give you or let you see what they want you to see. And you can just be there for them and then try to do the best you can for them. And then that's all you can, and go from there. And when they want to be receptive to change, great. But if not, okay. I mean, I had a guy that I don't even know why we were working out. The guy would literally tell me what he wanted to do. I'm like, okay. So, you know, granted that makes me miserable, but it's like, you're gonna have people like that. So you just kind of have to work with it. And then if it becomes an issue for you, then, well, I guess you can always let them go as a client. But until then, you have to remind yourself, hey, it's about them. It's what they want. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
I was gonna ask, how do you deal with your clients when you get sick, or what do you do with them, unfortunately, when you can't actually train them?
Well, I mean, I've had that happen before. You know, I've had a couple times where I got sick, you know, and we've had trainers that have gotten sick, right? So the fortunate thing for Equinox is, or at least our Equinox at Westlake, well, one, communication. You know, when your clients and you're training, like, you know, you're human, you get sick, things happen, right? As long as it wasn't you being hungover, right? Or from partying all night, like, they'll understand, right? And so that being said, communication, like, hey, like, this is what happened. Now, also, you can get your sessions covered. You know, unless you got some people on your squad, like luckily for us at Westlake, I've never experienced this, but we don't have people stealing each other's clients, right? That's bad form, and you shouldn't be doing that. Like, it's unethical. You're just breeding bad things to come back to you. But I've covered sessions, you know, people have covered my sessions, right? And on top of that, if you have a client and you're out for, let's say, a few days because you're sick, right? Or vacation, and you get those sessions covered, well, that still goes to your session bonus. You might not get paid for those sessions, but let's say the session bonus, right, is like 45 sessions, right? Well, you still get like the pay rate of what the 45 session was, even if you only did 30. So keep that in mind. Like, you know, you're not just totally out of it when you're out, right? As long as you get someone that's willing to cover, you're good. Now, one thing you have to understand is there is always a chance that person might like that trainer better. But at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about them, what works best for them. And even with that female client I was talking about that I was butting heads with, she got convinced by her aunt she needed a female trainer. Okay, hey, I can recommend this person and this person. You know what I mean? And then they still feel, and I still presented a service, and then there's no weird tension. And then also you helped out another trainer. You know what I mean? And so that just breeds further cohesion within your team.
That's a great mindset right there. That's admirable.
Yeah, thank you. That was sweet. Thanks, Joseph.
I have a question about first starting out. If that's okay.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, when let's say you first get hired, you're starting out. What does that look like that first month? Are they telling you, all right, you're at the desk here, all right, go pick up the weights? Do they give you a list of people to call? Like, what is the actual activities and things that are assigned to you and expected before you get any clients?
Well, yeah. Can finish? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Well, there's a few different things that happen. It's been a while since I've done this stuff, but you're going to have onboarding that takes a while. Also, you have to get approved to do your FMS, right? So your functional movement screening, that's part of the EquiFit. And so, like, you know, once that happens, because now every club is different, right? COVID kind of changed a lot of the way that Equinox does things. And when I came in, we had an FM and a PTM. I also came in a week after everyone else already started. So it's going to be different everywhere you go. But in the gist of it, you know, you go through onboarding and you start your EFTI, right? Now that could take you a month, that could take you 2 months, whatever. But usually within the first 3 weeks or the first like month and a half, you know, they'll let you off the reins to go ahead and start doing EquiFits, and then you're pretty much on your own. That's the one thing about Equinox. They're there to help you and support you, but they're also not there to hold your hand every 5 seconds, right? So it's like, talk to people. You're in essence, the way Equinox does things, and the way I've seen it is that they will help you and push you, but at the same time, it's your responsibility to gain your clients. It's your responsibility to ask the managers, hey, do you have any leads for me to that day? It's your responsibility to get in good graces with the member services, right? Like, it's your responsibility to talk to the people at the front desk, talk to people at retail, talk to whatever. Like, those are all your tools, right? But you're the one who's going to have to go talk to them, develop those relationships. So like after that, again, it's all on you. And then it's, okay, I have my floor shifts. And then your floor shifts, roughly when you're first starting out, you probably do 5 a week, right? You're gonna be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. And, you know, those are your guaranteed times that you have to be there on top of your ramper meetings, if you're still having those, or your, the forum once a month. And then your one-on-ones with your manager, right? Depending on if they're doing those or not. So that's kind of what that's going to look like. But other than that, it's your job to be there, to be like, hey, I want to do special events here, 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 and here. But again, it's your job. That's your responsibility. Now you can ask, now this is where you use the superpower of management. Hey, what works? How? What's the outline? And then your manager will tell you per club, right? Like what works, what times work, what, you know, and what ways that you can kind of go ahead and what will set you up for success, right? You know, it's like, because that's what I did. And in that sense, that's what happened, right? It's like, well, these are the main times. And then also, depending on the gym you're at, you're going to get a flow of when people are going to be there, right? Like there's always going to be people there at 7 and 8 in the morning or whatever, like these times, right? So make sure you're there at those times, and then go from there. And it's like, and
So
then
can you be there? I'm sorry. Can you be there? You know, they have you the assigned floor hours. Can you be there when you're not assigned the floor hours? Like, how does that work? You just come in whenever?
man, if they had a bed in there, they'd let you sleep there.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I'm here all the time, brother. Like it's the morning, from my morning client to my last client, because I live in Woodland Hills and then I work in Westlake.
Right.
I don't leave, so you can be there.
Do
Now,
they pay
granted,
you
there's
for that
sometimes I
time?
do, but
They don't pay you for that time. They just say you can be here.
well, again, it's not they say or they can, you can't. It's again, it's you're an adult, right? But you want to be there at the gym, be there, right?
But you
that's
don't
the only
get
way you're
paid
gonna
for being
convince
there
us.
all day, though, Joe.
Huh?
But you don't get paid minimum wage for being there, just
No.
for
No,
being there.
now I will say this: you do have 21 hours of business growth they will pay you for, right? So that's going to be your floor shifts. That's going to be whatever. So special events, right? Black shirt prospecting, right? Where you're just wearing your train shirt and you're just going out and talking to people, and you can schedule those as special events. Meetings that you do with other trainers. What else? I mean, you can put on stuff on your board. Like you can have up to 21 hours of minimum wage work that you will get paid for. But and then on top of that, your equifits and your comps, those are that's 2 hours a week for just one equifit and one comp with one person. So the more you do, the more times you're filling up that calendar. Does that answer?
Cool.
Is that a bit better?
Yes. So that equifit is, I know what the movement screen thing is. But what is the equifit exactly? Is that just the your assessment?
Like yeah. So so the functional movement screening is a part of that. Does it make sense? Yeah, it's a part of that whole process.
Not to cut you guys off, but I did a Equinox interview with Megan in Santa Monica, and she takes me through the FMS. And so you can see that there's an Equifit 1, which would consist of that, and then you'd sign them, bring them back in for the workout the next time, and that's an Equifit 2. And just by listening to Joe, what he's saying, being present, I think that's really important because I'm just looking at this right. This actually the Westlake Group X schedule. It's like be there as much as you can. So take classes, talk to other trainers. So there's just so many things that you can be doing to be involved. And it's just not Equinox. It's a lifetime. It's a 24 and everything. So well, I know Joe's time is very valuable and he has to get back there. Probably needs to eat before his next session. But I want to just again thank you for everything you're doing. One thing that I always I put a high priority on what I consider a great trainer. That's someone who I would let my parents train with, and I would definitely put you in that category. I've watched you numerous times, and not only are you engaging and you look the part, you talk the part, but you're a great trainer. So I appreciate you taking the time today to talk to these new aspiring trainers. You guys are in great hands. What's your Instagram handle?
_ inside job fitness _
I'll tag you. So I was trying to find you yesterday. I'm like, where the hell is he? So it's _ inside job fitness. And I'll tag you on there, and make sure to give him a follow. And if you guys have any follow-ups, reach out to him and maybe he'll answer. But I'll let you go, Joe. I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. And I'll be seeing you at the gym soon.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.